This is big breaking news. The United States Northern Command, NORTHCOM, has issued a nuclear warning for the Pacific coast of the United States. These events keep escalating, they keep happening, and we are heading towards a World War III scenario every single day. It's getting closer, and now the head of NORTHCOM is issuing this warning for the Pacific coast. The Atlantic coast has been in danger for years, but now the Pacific coast is in danger as well of a nuclear attack, and we need to take this very serious because these people have already planned of what's going to happen if there's a nuclear event, and they are preparing for something big to happen. This was highlighted in this article here 5 or 6 months ago that I reported on. The West makes plans to avoid panic if Russia uses nuclear bomb in Ukraine. So Western leaders were already preparing for mass panic buying and people to flee the cities just from a nuclear event overseas, not even in our country or not even in the EU or in NATO. And there could be panic buying inside the United States, inside the EU. So you need to be prepared now. You don't want to be panic buying. Remember in 2020 when everyone rushed out and was panic buying a lot of these ridiculous items and things like toilet paper. There was no toilet paper for months and months and months in a lot of areas. We do not want to be reactionary. We want to be proactive and be prepared because these events are getting closer and they are pushing us towards a nuclear World War III every single day. And even our leaders are coming out and saying that they do not want a ceasefire. I should have put this article here, but I just remembered that even Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State of the U.S., is coming out and saying that they don't want a ceasefire because that will allow Russia to replenish themselves and potentially be stronger and they won't be able to defeat them. So they're saying they don't even want a ceasefire because China is in Russia right now and they're saying we want to negotiate a peace deal and a potential ceasefire to end this conflict. And then our own representatives are saying we don't want that. We don't want these peace deals. This is all a farce. So things are not de-escalating, and now NORTHCOM is even giving a warning for the Pacific coast. We're going to get to that in just a second, but I just wanted to reiterate right here, all right? It says, hints of the thinking emerged in a briefing by an official on Friday who was asked if there would be measures in place to prevent panic buying or people fleeing cities en masse in fear of escalations after a nuclear event. How do you think they are going to prevent people from fleeing the cities? How do you think they're going to do it? It's not just going to be a sign on the road saying, hey, don't drive here, don't go. It's going to be martial law. It's going to be the military on the streets restricting your travel, not allowing you to go anywhere, and the alert level is going to be so heightened. Everyone is going to be a suspect, and this is what they want. They want a martial law scenario. And we are entering territory where there could even be a nuclear false flag event because this is such a big card that they want to play to continue this agenda. All right, this is what they want. They want people to panic buy and flee the cities. Hopefully you are already prepared. You already don't need to panic buy anything and you are already out of the city, so it's not really going to affect you. But what happens when all these people try to flee the cities and they have no resources and they're not prepared psychologically or physically or resource wise at all, and they start coming for you? All right, they're going to clamp down. They're going to bring the military out on the streets in America, in the EU, even if there's a nuclear event just in Ukraine. And they are now warning that there could be a nuclear event on the Pacific coast. All right, NORTHCOM is. So let's get into this warning here that the commander of NORTHCOM is giving. This is a very serious warning that we need to be ready for. All right, we could see nuclear events from Russia, all right, the most nuclear armed country on the planet. China also has black op nuclear programs that operate in underground bunkers and underground tunnels. All right, we know they have these tunnels and do nuclear operations, but China's nuclear program is very secret, and they could have more nukes than the United States or Russia. We don't really know how much they have, but bare minimum, Russia is the most nuclear armed country on Earth, and we are in a proxy war with them right now, and we're itching to get in a proxy war with China. We will get to that in just a second. But you can see here this happened just today on Thursday in response to questions from Senator Joni Ernst on the threat of Chinese and Russia cruise missile submarines operating close to the U.S. NORTHCOM Commander General Glenn Van Herk said the deployments of the Russia Yasin-class nuclear cruise missile attack boats have been deploying more frequently. And that's these right here. We will get to all that in just a second. Quote, the risk is absolutely increasing. Within the last year, Russia has also placed their Yasins in the Pacific, he said. Quote, now not only in the Atlantic, but we also have them in the Pacific, and it's just a matter of time, probably a year or two before that's a persistent threat, 24 hours a day. That impact has reduced decision space for national senior leader in a time of crisis. All right, so it's true. Normally we anticipate a ICBM being launched from Russia somewhere far away. These subs are right on our coast, and they could hit us in an instant. And down here below it says, in 2018, the Navy reactivated the U.S. Second Fleet and created a command for anti-submarine warfare across the Atlantic. And now they might have to do this for the Pacific as well, because these subs are just going to be sitting outside the West Coast now as well. And they are deploying their new class subs to the West Coast of the U.S. right now. And these are special operation, very quiet subs that are undetectable by most radars and most systems, so they could operate undetected in U.S. waters and get very close to the West Coast, to the land, to the East Coast, and detonate nuclear devices. All right, so this is very serious. That NORTHCOM is even warning of this. And here's the article here. Russia close to persistent nuclear cruise missile attack sub presence off the U.S. coast. They're actually warning the Atlantic and the Pacific, but the Atlantic was already under threat. The Pacific wasn't really a threat, but now it is, because they've deployed these new Yasin nuclear submarines to the west coast of the U.S., and NORTHCOM is even warning of this. So a very serious escalation and provocation. Think of what's been happening the past few weeks. This U.S. drone was shot down by a Russian fighter jet. I believe they dumped fuel on top of it, and then, well, it wasn't shot down, but it was hit. They rammed into it with the jet, knocked it down, and took it offline. All right, this happened just last week near the Baltic Sea. We also had B-52 bombers being escorted by Russian fighter jets just last week as well too. They got right up to Russian airspace, as close as they could get. B-52 U.S. bombers, nuclear capable bombers, and they were intercepted by Russian fighter jets and escorted out of the area as well. We are seeing that was right after the drones. All right, it was a day or two later. I should have had these articles up, but these things pop up, and I remember all of these escalations have been happening one on top of another, and now NORTHCOM is even warning that the Pacific West Coast could be in danger of a nuclear sub-attack. And like they said, they are very quiet, they are undetectable, and the impact has reduced decision space in a time of crisis. That essentially means normally they would have 20 minutes to respond, 30 minutes to respond. Now they have minutes to respond. They might have 1 minute to respond because they're able to get so close to our coast. And now they are targeting the Pacific West Coast as well. And we have already been targeted. Think of our supply chain. Think of all these fires, all these explosions. I made a video yesterday of massive leaks and massive explosions in multiple major cities, millions of people at risk, all right? And this is happening every day. But when it happens in Russia, they claim that it's sabotage from the other forces, right? You can see here, blow to Russia as massive fire erupts at factory producing engines for nuclear missiles and war machines. It says here, in recent months, Ukraine has claimed responsibility via sabotage groups or supporters for a spat of explosions and fires in Russia. So what about all these explosions and fires inside of the United States? Who has claimed responsibility for them? Because there is warfare going on in the U.S. There are more explosions and fires and chemical events and disasters in the U.S. than there are over there. They're happening way more often. And they're even saying right here, the plant is one of the largest Russian facilities producing multi-purpose diesel engines, clutches, gearboxes, and spare parts. So this is a critical factory as well. It produces things for the supply chain, for their war supply chain, and we're having our factories hit and taken offline and also poisoning us at the same time. But it's just a coincidence when it happens in the US, but when it happens over there, it's sabotage groups. They even say right there, via sabotage groups or supporters. There are individuals and there are groups that are attacking America right now already. And now we have this nuclear threat on top of it. They're unleashing all of the cards on America right now because they want chaos. They have to hit us all of these events at the same time, because if it's just a banking crisis, we could probably recover. If it's just a economic collapse, we can probably recover. If it's just one regional proxy war with a non-superpower, non-nuclear superpower, we can probably recover. But they are binding us in all of these situations. They're cornering us, and there's no option. We're being hit 360. All right, our factories are being hit. We're being poisoned. Our food supply is being hit. And now we are being warned that the west coast of the U.S. could be hit with a nuclear weapon as well. So it's just a coincidence when it happens in America. But when it happens over there, there are groups that openly brag and are proud of what they've done over there. So what's going on here? There are people that go to these groups, these globalist groups, these forums, all right, and they brag that they want to take down the supply chain. They want to change our food supply. They want to change what we eat. They want to manipulate things. So maybe these are the groups that are doing it, okay? There are groups that claim it over there. Why not groups claiming it here? Who is going to step forward and claim these sabotage attacks inside the United States as well? And the U.S. is not only ramping up for a direct conflict with Russia, they are also ramping up for a direct conflict with China. So check out this article. This article is absolutely insane that this is happening. And just think if the roles were reversed. That's how we have to look at this. What if China was doing this? It would be absolutely insane. Nobody would want this. We are already concerned about China buying up all of our farmland inside the United States. And now think about if they had military bases surrounding the United States. This is a huge provocative move, and I actually agree with China. I obviously don't agree with China on a lot of things. Their social credit system, their social engineering, their lockdowns, their government control. I don't agree with all of these things. They are the model. Even Klaus Schwab says China is the model for the system that they're trying to implement, this beast system. But this is provocative, all right? So the U.S. acquires, quote, critical military base overlooking Taiwan and claimed by China. Beijing calls the move, quote, provocative. And it says, amidst Chinese criticism mounting over the American role in the South China Sea, Philippines President announced that 4 new military bases under a defense agreement with the U.S. would be scattered across the country, including one in a province overlooking Taiwan. So this is absolutely insane. 4 new U.S. military bases in the Philippines. And that little red pin there on the map, that's an island all the way up very close to Taiwan that's actually technically part of the Philippines. There's a chain of islands up there that they technically could even build military bases on there. But just look at all these countries that have U.S. military bases. The Philippines, South Korea, Japan, all these countries, Taiwan itself has U.S. troops in it. I reported on just a couple weeks ago how hundreds of U.S. troops were sent to Taiwan. All right, so imagine if there was Chinese troops in Mexico and Canada and Cuba, all these countries surrounding the U.S. There was Chinese troops and they had military bases in all of these countries. It would be a massive national security risk. But the U.S. keeps provoking China and building more military bases in the area right near Taiwan. And it's just a red flag, all right? It's just showing that our leaders want to drag us into a massive world war with China, all right? They've captured our country. They've captured our military might. They've captured our massive budgets and our economic power. And now they are taking our ship and they're ramming it into China and Russia and trying to start a fight with them. That's essentially what is happening right now. And I hate to say it, but China has a lot of the cards. If a war did break out, China controls the supply chains, the global supply chains. China also has a massive lock and advantage on rare earth minerals as well. And if China does capture Taiwan, China will now have control over all of these semiconductor and chip manufacturers inside of Taiwan, where the majority of them for the world are built inside of Taiwan. So China would be sitting pretty well, and they would have a very good position if World War III with China officially did pop off. They would have a pretty big advantage. They also have a much bigger population and they have a much bigger reserve army. Some of their disadvantages, though, is that they are not combat hardy or combat trained. China has not really been in any modern wars like the United States and Russia has been exposed to. Russia has been in Syria, been in the Middle East, has been in a lot of modern wars. The United States, same. A lot of our combat experience is from these modern wars, but China does not have a lot of combat experience. Their soldiers don't. So they have advantages, but there also are some disadvantages. But at the same time, the U.S. has people sold out to China itself at some of the highest levels in government. So that's also a major risk as well if World War III breaks out with China. And when the supply chains stop, everything's going to stop. You are not going to be able to get this random little part to fix a tractor. And then this combine is not going to be able to harvest the corn. And then there's going to be massive corn shortages. Like, we could see a massive rippling effect just from the supply chain being cut off from China, because all of these critical parts are manufactured over there because it was, quote, cheaper to do it for the past few decades. Not anymore. The companies are moving out of China and focusing more on India right now because prices have gone up and China is not stable. They can shut down factories, lock down factories, shut down your company, manipulate it at any moment. We've sold out all of our resources and all of our manufacturing to China, and now we are depleting ourselves, depleting our military, depleting our arsenal, depleting our stockpile in these proxy wars, rapidly depleting. And China is sitting back fully stocked, ready to go, waiting for a conflict. And it kind of seems like they are allowing the US and Russia to destroy themselves. And China gets to sit back and take over and be the leader of this new world that is being created. And it's being created right in front of us. And China even just warned that a new change is happening that happens once only every 100 years, and it's happening right now. And China is going to lead this change into the new order of the world. All right, so we need to get prepared. This NORTHCOM general is giving this warning for the West Coast, and we could even see attacks, EMP attacks, all right? We could see a nuclear detonation in the atmosphere over the United States as well. That would be perfect for these subs to unleash as well. Even if they don't want to directly just hit the land, they could launch a ICBM over the continental United States and detonate a nuclear device in the atmosphere, essentially a EMP, and wipe out the grid, wipe out telecommunications, wipe out electronics in the United States as well. So you need to get prepared. You need to get out of these cities, get stocked up on everything now, because you don't want to be panic buying like these government officials are warning of. So make sure you guys are stocked up on lots of this and lots of this, all right? Because we could see a day when the United States homeland is attacked. We could see a attack on our own soil. This could happen. You never know. And there could be a time when you need to defend yourself. So make sure you are stocked up on all these things. And Europe is already warning of massive shortages on this stuff right here. All right, massive shortages on it. So get stocked up, get different kinds, different varieties. I got a ton, and you can never have enough. All right, so get stocked up on all this stuff. Get stocked up on food, get stocked up on seeds, and get out of the cities, because even if it's not in the US, even if it's overseas, people are going to panic here, and it's going to have rippling effects. And we could even see martial law scenarios in the US from an attack overseas even. All right, so get prepared now, guys. Thank you so much. Please hit that like for me. Please hit that sub. Please hit that bell if you want to get notified for all my videos. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.